Alright everyone, welcome to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the price for Enjin coin, but more specifically and most importantly, I'm going to be looking at the most important chart for Enjin coin at this moment in time that I think every altcoin holder should be looking at. This is going to be the most important way to look at the valuation of Enjin coin against the general markets. Now, let's jump right into the USD pair, and towards the end of the video, if you stick around, we'll be checking out that very important chart. Let's start off on the higher time frames against Enjin versus the US dollar. Now, starting off with your momentum indicators, we're looking at the squeeze one down here. You can see the last time, because we're in a bearish wave right now, it's very clear. The last time we were in a bearish wave like this, momentum started to subside and it dropped very, very quickly before we went over into a bullish wave. But we're not really seeing that at this moment in time. It more so seems to me that the bears are taking a breather before we do get that next wave back to the upside, because you can have phases where the momentum starts to subside and then you re-attract it again, like this. If we look at the daily, you can see bearish momentum started to head down as we were retesting the EMAs. That is normal, and bearish momentum, at least on the daily, is starting to subside a bit as we're retesting the EMAs again. But you know, higher time frames, it's very, very clear that we're not going right down into a bullish wave. In fact, to me, this looks like the bears are taking a breather, taking a week off, maybe going and spending all their profits at the beach, buying some lobsters and champagne over the weekends, and when they come back in on Monday, that these altcoins are going to get slaughtered, in my opinion. That's just what I think is going to be happening. On the weekly time frame as well, what we can see here is volume is exponentially increasing into this dump, and this is how we know that the price is probably going to drop a lot more. Typically speaking, when you see volume being very lackluster, for example, we were dropping here, but the volume wasn't really increasing. If anything, you draw a line of best fit and it got weaker and weaker and weaker, apart from this one candle, which was kind of like an outlier, like an anomaly in the data. But you can see, you know, the volume was heading down, we were running out of bearish momentum, and we soon had a huge rally. But what we're seeing right now, we're seeing the complete opposite. We're dropping in price and the volume's getting more and more exponential on the higher time frames. This is indicative that we are about to break down. I believe we talked about this in the stream yesterday, but I was calling for a 52% drop on Enjin coin all the way down to 35 cent. We haven't moved too far down. We're only about 12%. The wick came down 35. I still do think Enjin coin has another 46% drop to go against the US dollar, and I think, in my opinion, that will be coming next week, if not this month. Hopping over to the daily time frame, but before we do actually weekly time frame, I do just want to highlight we've pretty much been in a bullish stance on the EMA ribbons the whole time for Enjin coin. Because these were so bullish, we had such bullish price rallies, but now we're seeing the opposite. We are recently switching over to a short on your weekly EMA ribbons, and that is why I believe we're getting this extra bearish momentum, momentum once again on your squeeze bomb, and the volume as well is exponentially increasing, indicative that we have further to break down. If we hop over on the daily time frame, pretty much what we talked about on the squeeze bomb on the weekly, the bears are clearly in control, and on the weekly, I think we're going to do something like this, where we are resetting and we're just getting ready for a bigger wave. This is what we're seeing on the daily. And of course, the moves have to start on the lower time frames, and the fact that we're seeing this momentum keep on kind of stepping up on the daily is indicative to me that, you know, in the next couple of days, the next week, that this is going to start picking up again, and we're going to have a big move to the downside on our hands. Looking at this on the daily time frame, since our all-time high, I believe this was the all-time high, yes it was, all the way up here, we've been exceptionally bearish. We tried to flip the EMA ribbons once, but to have a successful flip, you need to flip them, backtest them, and then you need to break above the invalidation point. That is something that we did not do. We came up, we came down, we failed the retest, we broke below, failed the retest, and ever since then, your EMA ribbons have been a huge level of resistance. And once again, like I said, you zoom in, we did try and break above this. You can see we came up. This was your invalidation point, so once again, after you did the retest, this would be the point where you wanted to break above. That is not what we did. We came up, we came down, we M'd out, and you broke down from the heartline. The neckline of this M pattern was very, very nicely set up on the heartline of this descending channel, and we were talking about this at the moment in time, talking about how we were going to have a move to the downside. We called that one pretty well previously when we did cover Enjin coin earlier on in the month, but it very much seems like we are completely capitulating at this moment in time. Your daily EMA ribbons are all the way up here between $1 and $1.30. We have a very, very long way to go before Enjin becomes even remotely bullish. On the daily time frame, you could see we could even do something like this, which we've previously done before, and then fail another retest. So, you know, you could come up to 137, 140, and until you flip the EMAs, you are still very, very bearish. On the weekly time frame, we are seeing a huge influx of volume, and by the weekly time frame, sorry, I mean looking at this on the daily time frame in the last week of data traded, we have exponential volume, and the volume is predominantly selling volume. You know, you've got these two nice green wicks. They weren't followed up with any bullish volume, which is why we see dead cat bounce, and then you hop over to the weekly, you can see this is predominantly selling volume stepping into the market, which is why we are rolling down the hill. Daily time frame not looking good, huge influx of bearish volume, and at this moment in time you can see we've recently retested the lows at 74 cents. We capitulated, we've retested these twice and broken down, and now we're kind of seeing a lot of these altcoins starting to break down, which is what we've been predicting for the past week. Everything's capitulating. 4 hourly time frame, you recently just failed a retest of these. I do potentially see, you know, something like this. This can be an inverse head and shoulders. Like I said, I don't want to cherry pick the data. I do want to talk about every technical that I do see. However, I do not believe this is going to break out to the downside. I do just want to highlight this because I don't want to, you know, only cherry pick the bearish data. I do try and give an objective opinion, even though I don't hold this. Like I said, I can give an objective opinion on this because I don't hold this. It doesn't matter to me whether it goes up or down. In my opinion, this is going down though. You do have that inverse head and shoulders. I've seen a lot of those recently and a lot of them have failed. I'm actually seeing this M pattern in the lower time frames as well, starting to get ready for a breakdown. And as we've recently failed the retest of these, you can see the squeeze bomb is trying to flip over to a bullish stance, but we've done this time after time after time again. You can see every one of these little bunny hills on the 4 hourly EMAs is nothing but a failed retest, and in my opinion, what we're seeing right now is exactly what we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks, over the past couple of months really. So I do think, unfortunately, Enjin coin is very bearish, and against the US dollar, I hate to say it, but you know, I'm a straight shooter, that's why they call me cowboy. I think we're moving down another 46% to the downside. I'd much rather come on these videos and say, you know, every altcoin's bullish, every altcoin to the moon. I'd get more likes, I'd get more views, I'd get more subs, but I have to look at things objectively. That is what my channel's for. No moon boy hopium on here. If you came on this video looking for someone to pat you on your back and say Enjin to the moon, then you came to the wrong channel. I'm here to look at things objectively, and as I can tell, Enjin is massively capitulating against the US dollar. This was your 786 fib. Like I said at the start of this video, this uptrend is best defined by the weekly time frame. The fact that we've had multiple closes on the weekly below the 786, in my opinion, means this whole trend is invalidated. If you do have a weekly close below your lows at 74 cents, in my opinion, next week will be coming right down to 35 cents. So Enjin coin against the US dollar is exceptionally bearish. Very, very unfortunate, but I think this is going to massively capitulate. And now I want to talk about the most important chart that we should be looking at for Enjin, and this is the Enjin Bitcoin pair. And you might be thinking, why would we measure things against Bitcoin when most people measure things against the US dollar? Well, in my opinion, I came to cryptocurrency to get out of the traditional fiat system, and I believe in making trades that are profitable and taking profit in Bitcoin. I don't want to accumulate more US dollars. I don't want to accumulate more fiat. I want to accumulate more Bitcoin because I believe Bitcoin is here to stay, and I think Bitcoin is going to be, like I said, it's going to be the #1 crypto forever. So if you are taking profits in these altcoin markets, I think it makes sense to take profit in Bitcoin. And also, one more reason is, if you are trading these altcoins, you are taking on a ton of extra risk than if you were just buying Bitcoin. So I understand risk to reward. You want to have a higher return in place of taking more risk. So you're taking more risk on in hopes that you get more rewards out of it. That's completely fine, but that only works if your altcoin is outperforming Bitcoin. If your altcoin is not outperforming Bitcoin, you're taking on a plethora of extra risk, and you know you're not, it's not paying off, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So if your altcoin is not performing well against Bitcoin, then you're basically throwing money down the toilet, flushing the toilet, and saying, you know, I'm fine with that. So if your altcoin is underperforming against Bitcoin, like I said, you're losing money, you're making a ton of extra risk. It does not make sense. And from a technical perspective, you can see it does look like we're about to invalidate this entire uptrend for Enjin coin, and this looks very similar to what we did over here, where we had this mass capitulation, we had a bounce on the 786, and then the next month over we were completely capitulating and wiping out all the gains. I think we are about to do something like that for Enjin coin very, very soon. You can see daily time frame, we are just retesting this trend line. This can get very, very ugly in my opinion. Like I said, I do think Enjin is very, very bearish against the Bitcoin pair. I mean, I don't think it, I'm looking at it and it is breaking bearish. So I mean, it's unarguable at this point. The fact that you're below your 618 means you're not macro bullish. You're really fighting between these two lines, the 618 and the 786, and if you do capitulate, have weekly closes, monthly closes below your 786, and this is coming at 0.00000210. I might have said one too many zeros. There was a lot of zeros in there, so yeah, round about that region. If we do capitulate below this line, then unfortunately Enjin coin would be in a massive landslide to the downside against Bitcoin. And in my opinion, you know, you capitulate below here, you're probably returning to the lows. Historically, it does seem like we return to these lows a lot. I think you've got a slight downtrending line here that a lot of the time we do bottom on, and you can even argue we've got a slight uptrending line here. So you've kind of got these two data points where we could potentially find a cushion of support if we do break down. You can see the first breakdown would be this uptrending level of support. This would be from where we are now, about a 53% drop. So be very careful trading altcoins. I've been saying this in all my altcoin videos, but this descending triangle that we've just broken down from looks very, very similar to what happened in 2017. And I was here, everyone rushed into altcoins on this candle, and then the next week they got absolutely wrecked. And the altcoins are already getting slaughtered against Bitcoin. So my trading plan at this moment in time is to just focus on buying the dip on Bitcoin. I think these altcoins can get absolutely slaughtered if we're not careful against the Bitcoin pair. So that is all I wanted to show you. I think it's very important that we do measure these altcoins against their Bitcoin valuations. I feel like if you simply look at the USD pairs, then you might be looking at things like, oh, should I buy the dip if we come down to 35 cents? But then you're not looking at the general picture, you're not looking at the greater markets, and you're not understanding the full risk to reward aspect of entering your trades on a lot of these altcoins. So if you are holding altcoins, I definitely recommend you go onto TradingView. Doesn't matter what you're holding. If you're holding Ethereum, just type in ETH BTC. If you're holding Cardano, just type in ADA BTC and compare your altcoin to the Bitcoin valuation. See, is your altcoin actually performing better than Bitcoin? If not, you're taking on a plethora of extra risk and you're not seeing the same reward. So in my opinion, my trading plan at this moment in time is to solely focus on Bitcoin, only buy Bitcoin until Bitcoin confirms a trend reversal. Until we have this type of trend reversal come in, I do think confidence is going to be lost in the altcoin markets. The fact there's so much greed in the altcoin markets right now, you know, you can see Luna has been rug pulled. And I say rug pulled in the nicest way. I mean, you know, it was really attacked, but, you know, people are being greedy. They're still buying Luna when it's down 99.999%. I'm seeing people on Twitter throwing, you know, their life savings into Luna saying buy the dip. That is greed, in my opinion. So best of luck to you in these altcoin markets. I do think altcoins are setting up to get slaughtered against Bitcoin in the next coming weeks or so. That's all I've got. Best of luck if you're an Enjin, as always. Hope you found value in this. Cowboy out. Peace.